We all know and love the Vikings, and we know just how much Scotland and England were affected by their conquests. But how did the Scots finally defeat the Vikings? Well, we're about to find out, so just keep watching the video. Ever since the Vikings arrived in Scotland, they had been a bit of a nuisance. In 839, for instance, the King of the Gaels and most of the kings of the Picts died, creating the perfect leadership vacuum for Kenneth MacAlpin to take over both the Gaels and the Picts and form the nation of Scotland, which we know today. Eventually, the Kingdom of Norway gained control of most of the west coast of Scotland, as well as the northern isles of Orkney and Shetland. Now, the Scots had relinquished control of the West in 1098, but over 100 years later, plans were afoot to get them back. King Alexander II of Scotland tried to buy them off Norway, but they refused, and then he died. But then along came his son, this man, Alexander III, and he sent the Norwegians a final ultimatum. If they did not sell the islands, Scotland would take them by force. The Norwegian king responded by raising 100 ships and sailing them to the Isle of Arran to begin negotiations with Alexander. But the Scots king knew that the Norwegians needed a quick victory, and so he waited, stalling in negotiations until autumn came, storm season. On the 30th of September 1263, off the coast of the island of Cumbrae, a storm hit the Norwegian fleet, forcing several boats to run aground on the Scottish mainland, where they were attacked by Scottish archers and cavalry, at which point King Haakon IV sent his reinforcements, unaware that the Scots' main force was coming. The original small Scottish force armed with bows was easily defeated by the massive Norwegian army, and so they camped for the night at Largs, unaware that several hundred Scots knights were on the way. And the next day, the 2nd of October, the two sides clashed. This time, the Scots had the advantage due to their Norman-style cavalry, causing the Vikings, or Norwegians if you like, because that's probably more accurate, to flee the scene. The Norwegians fled all the way to Orkney, where King Haakon IV died. And then they just sort of sat in the port as Alexander invaded the Hebrides in 1264. In 1266, Haakon's son, Magnus, made peace with the Scots in the Treaty of Perth, where, in exchange for the Hebrides and the Isle of Man, the Norwegians would get payments of silver and Scottish recognition of their ownership over Nodor, Orkney and Shetland. Despite the fact that the Norwegian campaign seemed to be a success for the Scots, it became clear that the Battle of Largs itself wasn't really conclusive, as, at the end, both sides fled from the town, with heavy casualties. Although, of course, the Scots ended up on top after the whole thing was over. Alexander would go on to reign for 20 more years following the Treaty of Perth, before finally falling off his horse in 1286, which would lead to a succession crisis, which would lead to the Scottish War of Independence. Find out more about that in the next episode.